Ruidoso devastation. House swept away by flash floods amid sudden storms in New Mexico. By Your News Channel, July 9, 2025. Ruidoso, New Mexico. A terrifying video showing an entire home being swept away by raging floodwaters has gone viral on social media, shedding light on the intense and sudden flash flooding that struck the peaceful mountain town of Ruidoso on Tuesday. The town, nestled in the Sierra Blanca mountain range in southern New Mexico and known for its scenic summer retreats, was slammed by severe flooding after torrential rains hit areas previously scorched by wildfires. The burn scars left behind from last year's fires created prime conditions for rapid runoff, overwhelming local waterways and drainage systems. A scene of chaos and shock. The video, taken by a bystander on a nearby hillside, shows fast-moving muddy water engulfing the base of a house before it gives way and floats downstream like a raft. In the background, horrified voices can be heard gasping and crying as the flood consumes trees, fences, and entire sections of land. Within hours, the video was shared thousands of times online, with many describing it as one of the most dramatic real-time depictions of a home being destroyed by flash floods in recent memory. It looked like a scene from a disaster movie, said Angela Chavez, a Ruidoso resident who lives nearby. One minute, we were watching the water rise, and the next minute, a whole house was floating past our backyard. Flash flood emergency declared. The U.S. National Weather Service issued a flash flood emergency for the Ruidoso area at approximately 2:30 p.m. local time, warning residents to seek higher ground immediately. Rainfall totals reached up to 3 inches in some locations within a short span, overwhelming the already fragile environment. Because of the burn scars left by last year's wildfires, the soil can't absorb water properly, said NWS meteorologist Jason Herrera. When heavy rain hits, it creates a recipe for disaster, fast-moving flash floods with little to no warning. Authorities reported that multiple homes were damaged or destroyed, while roads were washed out and power lines downed. Several neighborhoods, including Upper Canyon, Brady Canyon, and Gavilan, were among the hardest hit. Rescue efforts underway. Emergency response teams were quickly deployed to assist residents trapped by rising waters. The New Mexico National Guard, local fire departments, and swiftwater rescue teams conducted evacuations by boat and helicopter, pulling stranded individuals from rooftops and debris. Ruidoso Fire Chief Dan Kelly confirmed that no fatalities had been reported as of Wednesday morning, though several individuals sustained minor injuries while attempting to escape floodwaters. At least 50 people were rescued, and hundreds were evacuated from the danger zones. It's nothing short of a miracle that we haven't seen more injuries or worse, said Kelly. This could have been catastrophic. Climate change and the growing risk. Experts are increasingly pointing to climate change as a major factor behind the frequency and intensity of such flash floods. As wildfires become more common and extreme in the American Southwest, the resulting burn scars leave entire regions vulnerable to deadly flooding for years afterward. Wildfires strip away vegetation that would normally slow down or absorb rainfall, explained Drive. Emily Sanchez, a climate researcher at the University of New Mexico. When storms arrive, water just races over the surface, carrying ash, mud, and debris with it. That's exactly what happened in Ruidoso. Sanchez emphasized that the combination of hotter, drier conditions followed by sudden, intense storms is becoming more common across the western U.S. Residents in shock. For the residents of Ruidoso, many of whom were still rebuilding from the devastating wildfires last year, the floods came as a heartbreaking blow. We just finished replacing our roof from last year's fire damage, said Marcos Benavides, whose home in Brady Canyon was inundated. Now our basement is filled with mud, and our yard is gone. It feels like we're being hit again and again. Shelters were quickly set up by the Red Cross at local schools and community centers. Volunteers provided food, water, blankets, and emotional support for displaced families. We're staying at the high school gym for now, said 72-year-old Linda Reyes. I lost everything in the fire last year. Now this. I don't know how much more we can take. Infrastructure struggles. The floods also revealed the strain on local infrastructure. Aging drainage systems and unreinforced culverts buckled under the intense water pressure, while newly repaired roads and bridges were washed away again. Officials acknowledge that Ruidoso's infrastructure needs long-term investment to deal with increasing weather extremes. This isn't just a once-in-a-century event anymore, said Mayor Susan Landon. We need state and federal help to make our town more resilient to both fire and flood. Otherwise, this will keep happening. Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham declared a state of emergency for Lincoln County late Tuesday night, unlocking federal disaster funds and support for recovery and rebuilding. We are mobilizing all available resources to help the people of Ruidoso, the governor said in a statement. They have suffered enough. Social media amplifies disaster. As footage and images of the flood poured across social media, the public response was swift. Hashtags like #RuidosoFloods, #New Mexico